Welcome back to Wish as I begin reading chapter 26. Did you notice a star on the top of the page? Make a wish. What's that? Audrey Mitchell pointed to my hand as we played Bible bingo in the fellowship hall. It had been raining all morning, so we hadn't been able to go outside and have a balloon race like Miss Rhonda had planned for us to do. I looked down at the drawing I had done on the back of my hand with a pen. A blackbird in a cage, I said, flipping my hair the way Jackie flips hers. Audrey screwed up her face like she'd just seen a dead possum squashed flat in the middle of the road. Check it out, I said, thrusting my hand toward her face and winking. I've been trying to do all the things Jackie does, flipping my hair and winking, acting cool and confident. But so far it didn't seem to be working. Most of those kids at Bible school still treated me like I had cooties. What's it for? Audrey said. And then the darndest thing happened. I guess being a ray of sunshine had given me some real confidence, not pretend confidence, because I looked her square in the eye and said, "It's the same as a tattoo my daddy has on his hand." The minute those confident words came out, old Mr. Doubt tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Now look what you've done. She's going to ask you where your daddy is, and then what are you going to say?" But miracles of miracles, Audrey did not ask me where my daddy was. She just said, "Oh," and studied her Bible bingo card. So I pushed Mr. Doubt aside and said, "His name is Scrappy, and he's getting corrected." Audrey put another token on her bingo card. "What does that mean?" she asked. "Means he's getting corrected," I said. "He'll be home any day now." "So then, are you going back to Riley?" she said. At that, Howard's head shot up from studying his bingo card and stared at me. Yeah, I said, "Sure." "When?" Howard said. I shrugged. "I don't know. However long it takes for Scrappy to get corrected, I guess." Suddenly, my confidence began to spin out of control, faster and faster until it rose right up through the ceiling and out through the roof of Rocky Creek Baptist Church, disappearing into the sky and leaving me there in the fellowship hall with a stomach ache. I licked my thumb and wiped at that blackbird tattoo, leaving a smudgy black spot on my hand. Suddenly somebody yelled, "Bingo!" and Miss Rhonda clapped her hands and pointed to the table full of prizes, coloring books and glittery pens and erasers shaped like Noah's Ark. "Clear your cards," Miss Rhonda said. "Let's start a new game." Later that day, me and Howard sat on Odom's front porch steps watching Wishbone and Cotton playing in the sprinkler. Cotton jumped over puddles of muddy water while Wishbone scampered along behind him, ears flopping and tail wagging. "I've been wondering about something," Howard said, scratching at mosquito bites on his freckled leg. "How come you shoved TJ at Bible school yesterday?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "I mean, why did you shove him?" "He was making fun of you, Howard." "I know." I stared at him. His eyebrows were squeezed together over his glasses, and he looked so serious for a minute I almost laughed. But then he said, "He was making fun of me, not you." "Then you're the one who should have shoved him," I said. "Nah." "Why not?" I said. "Why do you let kids make fun of you and don't do one darn thing about it?" "'Cause I've been shoving somebody every day of my life." So, what good is that?" We sat in silence for a few minutes. Cotton was stomping in the mud and Wishbone was snapping at the water swirling out of the sprinkler. But why? But why'd you shove TJ?" Howard asked. "Because he was being mean to you." I wiped muddy water off my legs. Duh, I added. Why do you care about that? 'Cause you're my friend, I asked. I don't like kids to be mean to my friends, okay? I'm your friend. Sure you are, I said. Duh, added again. I am? Well, yeah. Then my wish came true. It did? Yeah. Howard blushed a little, his white, freckly face turning pale pink. Well, part of it anyway. I wished for two things. So since you're one of them, since one of them has come true, I can tell it to you. I wish that we'd be friends. Well, dang, I never would have guessed that. You think that a redhead boy with glasses who was named Howard and had an up-down walk would have had a lot more to wish for than being friends with me. But I have to admit, I felt a smile on my face and hope in my heart, 'cause maybe wishes really do come true. Maybe some wishes just take longer than others. Chapter 27. The next day after Bible school, Wishbone and I were sitting out front while Gus worked in the garden. Tiny wrens and sparrows hopped around the yard and fluttered up to the bird feeder on the fence post. After a while, Bertha came out with a couple of cats trailing along behind her. She smelled like lavender, and I couldn't help but notice how much she looked like Mama, with her hair curling around her face and her eyes crinkled at the edges. I figured she was going to tell me a story about some lady in her knitting group or something, but she said, I found that note. My stomach squeezed up, and I felt kind of scared for a minute. That note in your lunchbox, she said. Well, what in the world could I say now? I felt like a big dumb baby for writing that note. I wanted Bertha to go away. I did not want to talk about that note, but Bertha did not go away. She sat petting the cat, purring in her lap, and gazing up at Gus's weeding in the garden. And then she said, You know, Charlie, me and Gus always wanted children. She rubbed Wishbone's belly with her bare foot. We have had many blessings in our life together, but having children has not been one of them. So I watched her foot rubbing Wishbone and waited. Well, she said, I guess I'm not too good at doing things that mothers do. My heart sank and I scrambled to think of something to say, but I couldn't. When I saw that note, I wanted to kick myself, she went on. How come I didn't think how much a little girl would love to have a note like that in her lunchbox? I wished like anything I had thought to do that, but I didn't. Just like I didn't think of how silly that rainbow lunchbox was. And then there was her hand on my knee. It was dark and tan from hours in the sun, fingernails rough and dirty from pulling weeds in the garden. So, I hope you be patient with me while I learn, she said. I hung my head and nodded. She shouldn't have said something nice. She should have said something nice to her. I should have said, oh, don't even worry about it. That rainbow lunchbox was no big deal. I should have said, I don't even care about that dumb note. But the truth was, all I could do was sit there feeling her warm hand and breathing her lavender smell. Let's go help Gus, she said. So the three of us pulled weeds and picked beans and pinched dead flowers off the marigolds. Wishbone had sat outside the gate and whined to get in, but he wasn't allowed because of his digging. When we were done, we climbed into Gus's car and picked up Howard before heading to the mountain to get ice cream. Wishbone stuck his head out the window, his ears flapping like crazy in the wind, while me and Howard sang Bible school songs. Every once in a while, we passed a clearing with a view of the mountains stretched out as far as you could see. A smoky blue haze floated over the treetops. It reminded me of my first day in Colby when Gus had told me why they're called the Blue Ridge Mountains. Sometimes it felt like just yesterday that I'd sat on the school bus with all those kids I didn't know, riding through the town and thinking every laundromat and trailer park and shabby little house along the way was the sorriest thing I'd ever seen. But now here I was singing Bible school songs with my friend Howard and my arms wrapped around my very own dog. And when I looked out at the now familiar sights of Colby, I realized they didn't seem to look quite so sorry anymore. Bertha chatted away in the front seat the whole way to town, while Gus nodded silently. We got ice cream at the Dairy Freeze and sat at a picnic table, trying to eat it quick before the summer heat made it run down our cones and drip onto our laps. Bertha scooped a little bit into a paper cup for Wishbone, and Howard let him have the last bite of his cone. On the way home, me and Howard taught Gus and Bertha some of our Bible school songs, and the best thing happened. I saw a yellow railroad car. That one on my list. That was on my list of things to wish on, things to Fulton Banner, a crazy old man who lived next door to us in Riley. Yellow railroad cars aren't too plentiful, he told me. When you see one, make a wish. For a minute, I thought I might not even bother making my wish. Maybe I was just wasting my time. But then something inside me told me not to give up and to keep on trying. I mean, you never know, right? So I looked back at that yellow railroad car as we passed it up and made my wish. Tune in next time as we finish the book.